I am fired up.
The snap, the put down, the swing of the leg. It is on its way. It is good! Cincinnati wins the American Championship.
Here comes the quarterback, Burrow, looking for a block, and he got it up in the front by Hopkins into the end zone. Touchdown! What a skip!
As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run. And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
Welcome back, Ryan Castellanos. Welcome back to the show, sir. For Ed and Jeff, I am Aaron, and this is another episode of Pardon the Punctuation. We do invite friend of the show, Ryan Castellanos, back. Ryan, how we doing tonight?
Very good. Very excited. Watching some Reds right now, so that's always good.
Yeah, we all are, I think, in our own little capacity. Yeah. I'm obviously ahead of everybody, as we found out just a few moments ago, as there was a play at the plate. But before we get into the actual Reds, since the last time you were on the show with us, things have gotten a little crazy for you. You've been on the Twitch, doing the Twitch stream, and things have kind of blown up. So what is the ride been like for you, sir?
It's just a lot of fun, man. It really is. I mean, streaming's always been something I kind of always wanted to try. I mean, I always thought it would be, video game related, but I just saw this as kind of like a perfect opportunity to not only, try doing it, but like connect with the fans. And when I'm watching the game by myself, I'm doing the same thing anyway. So I figured everybody else would kind of enjoy watching me go nuts and kind of, connect with me and just kind of feel closer to the team, feel like just give them like an experience that you really can't find anywhere else, to be honest. And it's been a lot of fun. And I mean, you guys say blow up. I mean, I'm still very small in the, the Twitch community, but either way, I'm doing it because it's a lot of fun and I've enjoyed every single second of it, man.
Now, when I say blow up, in all fairness, I mean, like, just even following you on Twitter, like, you're getting responses all over the place, especially with us playing the Cubs right now. So you got the Cub following that you already had when Nick was, with the Cubs, and now you got your new following with the Reds and all of that. So I've seen a little bit of spite tweets going back and forth.
Yeah.
In your feed. Maybe not necessarily from you, but at least from the fans going back at each other. So it's I don't know. It's been fun enjoying the ride, and I've seen that you are, getting on other podcasts and stuff too. I like to think that we're a little special, being that we were the first. But
well, you guys were the first, and this is the only other podcast I've been on, so 2 in a row. And you guys are awesome, so I'm sure I'll be back again if I'm allowed. If you guys let me come back on.
Well, as we had kind of discussed, and I'm okay talking about right now, we're going to have you on it as much as we can, at least during the season. So, whatever time you can make for us has been, a lot of fun, and we see no reason for you not to be on with us as much as you can fit us into your schedule with all your travel for work and everything. So,
right. Well, awesome, man. I really do appreciate it. It is a lot of fun. So until I give you guys a reason that you don't want me back, I'll be back.
Sounds like a plan.
Good deal.
So, like I said, we have to talk about what's going on. What happened last night with the Reds and the Cubs? I mean, that's one way to end a game, I suppose.
Yeah.
With the way that all went down, with you being a former player and like having lived the unwritten rules at a professional level, how do you break down what happened last night with Baez and Garrett?
Well, I think there's two ways to look at it. If you look at it in a vacuum, I mean, to be honest, of course, this is biased because I'm a Reds fan and obviously being Nick's brother and, wanting the Reds team to succeed. Kind of watching Baez do that, I wasn't very happy with it. I will concede that me being unhappy with it could be my bias towards the Reds, but also my frustration kind of comes from looking at kind of how MLB handled this as a whole, where, I mean, we want emotion in games, and the Reds are providing that through, Nick and Amir, and they're getting suspended for it. And if other teams kind of do the same thing, we just kind of want to see some consistency for it. And, in a world where Baez can jump over the railing and not get suspended, and then basically do what players say they don't want in the game, which is making it kind of personal. And he didn't really celebrate with his team. He wasn't really looking in the dugout. He was making it all about, Amir in the moment, which, they do have history, and people will say,
Right.
well, look at the history. Of course that's going to happen. Well, okay, I'll grant you that, but Amir got suspended for it. So I think this should be Baez's turn to get suspended. I don't think that in the grand scheme of things, these are necessarily things that you should be suspended for, but I'm just going based off of what MLB kind of set as the precedent. And I think it's kind of ridiculous to be in a spot where you really only get punished if the other team decides to retaliate. And I mean, you really saw Amir kind of hold his, keep his cool the entire time. But
which
if
is
he
something
would've-
he's not known for.
Exactly. And Baez might not be suspended just because Amir didn't make a big deal out of it. But if Amir would have went right after Baez, I think it was a good chance that he would have got suspended. Baez and Amir is what I'm talking about.
I
Right.
agree. And I know one of the things that you talked about that, like on your Twitter feed and what have you, has been the way that the MLB takes these opportunities to advertise for their product with these situations. And they turned around and they're like talking about how Baez ran his mouth, backed up what he was doing, and they used that again as another opportunity to be like, this is our product. Look at what we do.
I don't think the ball had a chance to land in the outfield before the MLB was tweeting out the video of it.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so the part that makes this a little bit of a gray area is that it was a walk-off hit. So obviously, if that was somewhere like in the 7th or any other part of the game, that would have been benches clearing, no doubt.
Correct.
Obviously, he wouldn't have taken it that far if it wasn't a walk-off hit. But, at the same time, you have to kind of look at what he was doing, and he was 100% just showing up Amir, staring at him, yelling at him. They had teammates coming behind him, trying to get him to first base. And then when they were celebrating, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Rizzo was kind of behind him. They were basically preparing for the Reds to retaliate. So the Cubs knew that what he was doing was kind of over the top. And if he does get away with it just because it was a walk-off hit, those are the kind of things that I think that the league should be wanting to get out of baseball. The things that I think should be in baseball is when you see players show that kind of emotion, but it's kind of a celebratory thing with their team. And when you make it personal like that and the league does nothing about it, I mean, I saw Trent. I'm not sure his last name. He's the
Rosecrans?
the writer with The Athletic.
See, Trent.
Yep.
Yeah. If he doesn't get suspended, I mean, he's basically, or MLB is basically sending a message to the Reds and the rest of the league where if you guys don't retaliate and make it a whole show on the field, suspensions might not be given out, despite them being deserved. So it's just the mixed messaging that I'm a little frustrated with. It's not necessary. It really doesn't have anything to do with Baez himself or the Cubs themselves. It could have been anybody. But when the Reds have been dealing with, frivolous suspensions, and then remember, Amir was suspended for 7 games.
Right.
And he had to reduce it to 5 games. And that, in that situation, I think the benches only really cleared because Baez jumped off, the railing to kind of start, the initiation.
Amir started his whole thing in that one from the mound.
Exactly.
And stayed there, essentially stayed within that circle.
And I would say that you couldn't even, Amir was probably looking at Rizzo and yelling at Rizzo, but he could have been just looking at home plate or in the catch or to the catcher. And there was a part of me during that whole thing that it just kind of seemed like a catharsis in a moment where Amir finally felt like he was putting it together, and he was just expressing himself in the moment. And I wouldn't really put what Amir did versus what Baez did together. I could be biased, but I really do think that Baez going over the railing and Baez completely showing up, walking to first base and flipping the bat in Amir's direction, that is not the celebrating that we really want to see. And
I think that was the biggest problem I had was the bat. Like
yeah,
everything else, I think was just kind of Baez being Baez, which at this point I don't think anybody's really surprised by. But when you take the bat and, I mean, it wasn't quite a projectile, but when he, throws it at the ground the way that he did, like, I don't know, man. I guess that's where I draw the line personally. But
there were whatever line you draw, it was crossed. I mean, the only other thing that he could have done was sprint right at Amir, and start a fight. And if anything, that is almost less disrespectful because it's kind of like, hey, all right, let's take care of this right now. But I'm not saying that is what should have happened, but as a player, kind of, and as a former pitcher, what Baez did was basically like almost peak disrespect. And I know that it's, they do have their past history and whatnot, and I'll take that all, in stride and say, okay, but remember, Amir got suspended for his past actions, in their history. So I think, again, if we're talking about consistency and we're talking about trying to lay a framework where players and other, teams across the league can look at and say, okay, this is okay. This is not okay. The MLB's done a terrible job in setting up that, framework where teams can look at and say, this is good and this is not good.
Have you ever seen anyone carry a bat almost all the way to first base?
Yes. But so do you remember in the World Series? I think Soto did that, and then Bregman did that, where they would carry the bat all the way to first. But in that celebration, that wasn't necessarily directed at anybody. It was kind of like pimping it, celebrating, dropping the bat. Those kind of spectacles, even though it might rub sub pitchers the wrong way, they're not staring right at him. They're not staring right at him, yelling at him, walking down to first.
Doing whatever, like this oar. I don't know what the oar motion was, like the sweep.
I think he was doing the sweep, which I think Garrett did.
Correct.
We swept the Cubs.
Oh, okay.
So, and again, and I'm not saying that Baez didn't have any personal stuff that he wanted to show out there, which is fine. He didn't start a fight, mainly because Amir had a lot of restraint. But I don't think that because the Reds showed restraint that his actions couldn't be deemed as aggressive, willing to possibly start a fight. And I really do think that if Amir would have gone off on him right there and started a whole thing at the end of the game, there would be no doubts that Baez would be suspended, in my opinion.
Well, and with Amir,
right,
and potentially several other players from both sides,
right? So. But it shouldn't require reactions from the other team to be qualified for a suspension,
right?
So I guess if you look at the other leagues, when I say that, I mean like the NFL, the NBA. If you taunt like that, I mean there's penalties in both leagues. Like the NBA, you can't dunk on somebody and then get in their face like that because that's when it becomes personal. In the NFL, if you stand over somebody or anything like that, we've seen it happen, especially as Cincinnati fans with everything that went on with Vontaze Burfict and the Steelers and that whole mess. I don't even want to talk about that. But
real quick, since we're talking about NBA and not MLB, if LeBron James does it, it's okay according to the NBA. Thank you.
I don't think that's how that works, but yeah, I mean it's like I said, I mean there's penalties in place and a structure in place for these types of offenses. Whereas baseball, it's kind of just, is there going to be a suspension? Is there going to be discipline? Nobody knows. But what we do know tonight is Baez was a scratch with a heel contusion, which who's to say if that was an actual thing or perhaps something coming from the league that they're preparing for and can retroact.
Yeah. Or maybe he could be traded soon. Who knows?
That's the other thing is like halfway through the game yesterday, you got Andrew Chafin getting sent to the A's, I believe is where he went. So and there's talk that Rizzo and Bryant could also be gone here in the next week. Heck, it's not even a week. What is it, like 4 days? 4 days left.
Friday. I think Friday is the deadline. Is that true? It's Friday?
I mean, potentially the Cubs
Something
could
like
be a very different team here in about a week.
They may not even finish the series with the team.
So they'll pull a Puig and Baez might have to sit a few games with his new team.
Oh,
It'd be interesting.
I mean, it could be something, along the line. What if it was something along the lines of when who was it? Mesoraco got traded to the Mets like an hour before he was a starter in the lineup for the Reds against the Mets.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I had no idea that.
And he went and dressed for the Mets.
He was in the starting lineup for the Reds against the Mets, and then the Reds. Is that when they got Matt Harvey?
Yes.
Aaron? They traded Mesoraco across the field to the Mets like an hour before the game, so they had to obviously scratch him from the Reds lineup. He went over there. They like stitched him a jersey, so he was in the Mets dugout for the game, and
real quick.
And Harvey was across back over with the Reds.
Yeah,
wow,
that's weird, and it's funny too because baseball is really one of the only sports where you can do that. Because in football, when you trade a guy, it's going to take a while, to get acclimated. And in basketball, it's kind of the same thing. In baseball, you can have a guy fresh off another team show up 10 minutes before first pitch and go. You have players in there who can't even communicate with each other, because they speak different languages, and it just doesn't matter. It's kind of a beautiful thing, really, where it's just, your role, you go in there and you just immediately, hopefully you can start working like clockwork immediately.
Just get your little card for where you need to be on defensive lineups and go.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's only a recent thing with the whole defensive shifts. Like you gotta look down and be like, oh, I got to go out and play short right field now. I thought I was a third baseman. Hold on.
Yeah, when I was in college, which was 2013 through 2015, playing, shifts were never a thing. Towards the end of my last year in college, we had shifted for only maybe 2 or 3 players in our whole conference. And when I was in the minor leagues, the shift, I don't even remember there being a shift. So it's so weird how prevalent it is nowadays. And it was interesting too, because I think Jonathan India was talking about it, his move to second base, because I think he was playing third or something. And one of the biggest adjustments for him was not only playing second, but then getting acclimated with all the different positions that you have to play, whether it's like a short right field or like an extended first baseman way back. It's just, there's so many different areas that you kind of have to get used to. And when you switch a spot on the field, not only are you switching your vantage point, but the ball comes at you differently because it comes off the bat differently. So there'll be a different spin on it, different, just little nuances that you have to look for, which I never got to appreciate in the game because I was a pitcher only. But my brother talks about stuff like that when he would play right field versus left field. It's a completely different game, when you're trying to track balls, the read off the bat, just extra things into the game that, you just kind of have to look out for, which was interesting because it was something that I had never really thought all that much about.
Yeah. No, when we were talking about the shift here, so on the radio, I guess it was like 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, there was a local guy that he covers sports here in Cincinnati.
Which
Joe
guy?
Joe Sheehan.
Okay.
So he's on the radio on 700 talking about like some different things as far as like he is against banning the shift. He thinks that a manager should be able to play his people wherever he chooses inside the lines there. And I guess even outside the lines if they wanted to do that for whatever reason, which wouldn't make much sense, but you never know. Some things don't in baseball anymore. So what? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I can see both sides. I think with how much we're shifting right now, I totally see, the argument against it. The fact that batting averages are so low, the fact that shifts and just all the information you have on hitters. I think Joey Votto had mentioned um, that yeah, the infield shift is tough, but when you have outfielders getting put into a spot where you're almost always likely to hit it, that's one of the tougher things to adjust to. Is also the outfield placement. Um, and it's really interesting if you kind of look at the pros and cons, because when we started shifting so much and putting so many defenders in such a little spot, it kind of you know not it lessened the need for extremely athletic and rangy defensive players, where if you had an extremely athletic second baseman or an extremely athletic and fast shortstop, they can get to the balls where now you can just shift into those spots. So you're kind of taking, some of the defensive flair out of the game. So if you look at, I don't know, Ozzie Smith, would he have been such a good shortstop if all he was doing was being a part of a shift all the time? Would he be as well known? I mean, I'm sure he would be known as one of the greats, but
No,
he got so many opportunities, to just go far into the hole, bare hand balls, and that kind of baseball, you just kind of shift into it now, and it's weird because we're still getting used to, 6 years ago, where you're watching a game and you see somebody hit a ball up the middle or something, immediately it registers as a hit. But now you have no idea because you have to see where the shift is, you
right?
know? And
Exactly. Now, some of the other things he brought up, like
Real
instead
quick,
of, yep.
real quick, since we weren't talking about baseball for a second, Aaron, I did look it up. Joe Sheehan does not seem to have any kind of relationship to Tyler Sheehan, the NFL quarterback that you sacked in flag football.
Excellent.
Thanks,
wait,
Ed.
is this the football family? Do they have a tight end in the family? Is it Shaheen or Sheehan? Sheehan.
I thought it was
Well,
Sheehan.
we're only just now figuring out how to pronounce Kelsey versus Kels, so we don't necessarily know pronunciations here in Cincinnati.
Okay, because he was a Dolphins player, so if we had that connection now, I would have been extremely excited. But
Well,
I guess not.
he was saying that, like, you can play your players wherever, but to increase offense, they're talking about the thing with like moving the mound back. I guess they're going to try that in some of these in one of the minor league, like the Atlantic Coast League, I believe, is they're going to, in the second half of their season, they're going to move the mound back. And then he also brought up 88-foot bases instead of obviously 90 to be able to, that way some of these balls that maybe get hit into the shift that is like, deep into right field, you're not able to necessarily throw the guy out coming to first base.
I mean,
I thought that was a little silly myself. But.
yeah, I think that sounds a little ridiculous. I mean, now you're physically, I mean, it's happened in the past, so it's not completely far fetched. Like they lowered the mound, however long ago. They changed the distance of the fences, however long ago. So stuff like that does happen. But I don't know if fans like seeing shifts all of the time. I don't think that, if we're having a conversation about, baseball being, fun to watch or trying to put a product on the field that is exciting for the fans, as opposed to the three true outcomes that we see all the time, either a walk, a strikeout, or a home run. I think that maybe not getting rid of the shift, but limiting the effectiveness of the shift, that could, that could kind of put the hitters in the mindset of, maybe I need to put the ball on the ground more. Maybe defense will be more at a premium, and maybe that can get back to, emphasizing guys who can put the ball in play more as opposed to striking out as much as we see. And I don't know if Major League Baseball really wants to cater to the product that we're starting to see unfold in the last 4 or 5 years. And I know with the whole, sticky tack or spider tack, has a lot to do with the lower batting averages and whatnot. But, I think it's kind of been a trend for a while now. And I still think that the brand of baseball that's going to be the most exciting to see is yet to come. And I think that limiting the shift in some capacity is going to be a part of that. That's just what I think. Maybe that's just because what I would prefer, because I do like seeing what players can do in the traditional second base position, shortstop position. That was always fun for me.
Making the diving plays with the well, you brought up Ozzie Smith, and there's the one of millions of clips it seems like, but the one that I always seem to see is where he's ranging towards second base. He dives, the ball hits like something in the dirt and skips back behind him, and he bare hands it back here, and then gets up and makes it's like
amazing.
And I actually never even thought about the fact that this shift has kind of like you just don't see those plays nearly as often because the guy's just standing there and has to take 2-3 steps one way or the other and field a ground ball.
And honestly, I'm not even a hitter, but when I see a batter absolutely crush a ball, 108 off the bat, completely through the infield, short hops, the second right fielder that happens to be standing there. I feel like that's kind of putting, analytics and numbers in the forefront and taking away, just the natural athleticism and kind of, I think that's just putting numbers in front of just, the spirit of the game. I don't want to sound like an old school person because I'm really not. This might be one of the few takes where I feel like these changes aren't necessarily good. And there will be a whole new aspect to defense if we were to limit, the shift, because like I said, we have almost everybody in the big leagues now hitting 250 or less. And that's okay. As long as you hit, 20 homers and you get your RBIs, that's totally fine. And if we continue doing that, there are going to be continuous conversations about how, games are sometimes boring to watch.
So you bring up, a guy hitting 108. I feel like that was the first 3 or 4 weeks of Joey Votto's season. But Joey Votto is on a whole different tear right now, as he has hit 2 home runs tonight. He has 4 games in a row now, and in that span, he's hit 5 home runs. I am rocking my Joey Votto jersey tonight, so it's been a lot of fun to watch this old man on this team just doing some different things. Do you think in the back of his head he's thinking about the fact that he might not have the numbers to get into the Hall of Fame first ballot without these home runs?
I doubt it. I mean, if you're in, I'm not a hitter. I've never, hit at a high level. Not that I can't hit. If you guys want to do BP sometime,
and we could do some John Boy back alley at bats with the blitz with the blitz ball.
I'm in. I'm definitely in. When you start doing things for numbers, you usually don't, get the results that you want. I truthfully just think that Votto has embraced this newer era of baseball where you can freely, show your heart on your sleeve. You see it with every single time a first base or third base umpire says that he went on a swing. You see it obviously when he went absolutely nuts with Barnhart. You see it with his home run where he points to the dugout and gets them all, excited. And obviously I'm not Votto, so I can't speak for him.
Sure.
But it looks like that he's just kind of letting it all go and
playing looser,
probably playing like he used to when he was a kid, just not worried about anything else, but just trying to, win, do good for the team, just be someone that the team can count on. And I'm sure that, with the emergence of Nick playing really well and Winker playing really well and Jonathan India coming in as a rookie and completely looking comfortable and doing his thing, and just the buzz that's been growing from the city just because of how hard and how passionate that these Reds players have been, I think it just made an environment for him to just completely feel comfortable in that veteran role, completely feel comfortable in the role that, it doesn't have to be all on him, but also know that he's still plenty good enough to be just as good, if not better, than the team needs him to be. And he's taken that full stride, man. I mean, it is a lot of fun. And I never got to watch a ton of Otto, in his younger, in his early career, the way you guys have. But even just watching him now and knowing how long his career's been and seeing how much fun he's having, it's like a breath of fresh air. And it just makes me want Nick to come back so much quicker so he can join in on all this,
He seemed to be taking it all in right there in that picture that Jeff took down.
Yeah. Well, actually, did you guys see that happen live?
No.
Yeah.
It was these girls. So he was on deck and he was completely locked into Hendricks pitching. And one of the girls came down and started talking to him. And I think that she wanted him to turn around to take a picture. But he just kind of like said, just sure, you can take a picture, but I'm not going to look at you, because he was just totally locked in. And you could see it. He was so locked in and he is so in the game. And that is just so special, because that kind of focus and that kind of intensity and that kind of just want to go up there and just do another thing good for the team, just so he can have a moment where he's excited. That is really when, people start playing for the right reasons, which is to have fun and which is to win. If you start playing for numbers, if you start playing for stats, and if he's playing to get into the Hall of Fame, I don't think that's what's on his mind. I think he wants to have at least another season or 2 or 3 where he can experience playoff baseball. He can, have a real shot to give this city what he needs, or what the city has wanted for a long time. And I'm curious to ask what his answer would be if you were to ask him, would you rather be in the Hall of Fame or would you rather win a championship with Cincinnati?
I think wholeheartedly he would rather win a championship here in Cincinnati. I don't think that he has any care about if he was in the Hall of Fame, if he doesn't feel like he did everything he could here in Cincinnati, which includes winning a championship.
He'll be in a Canadian Hall of Fame for sure. So
he's already in there. Do you guys see his interviews on MLB Network where he came out in the whole Canadian get up?
In the Mountie?
The Mountie? Yeah.
That is so funny, man. That's so funny.
He's actually a really funny guy, and for a long time in Cincinnati, when he was like early on in his career and everything, like it was just this stoic, like there was like no emotion. I mean, he was just like out there, hitting the ball hard, doing what he needed to do, but there was like not a lot of of what you see now, where he's out there like when he started doing those like the MLB things in the Mountie costume and goofing off and stuff like
buying a donkey.
When he bought Zach Cozart a donkey for making the All-Star game.
Like a real donkey?
A real life donkey.
Well, and he came to an interview dressed as a donkey.
He did.
Oh man. That's awesome. But I mean, yeah, it's not unexpected. Yeah, I mean, what year did he come up? 2002, 2001, I think was his draft class, right?
I know Chad mentioned 35 isn't old, and that's how old I am. And I graduated 2002, so it's got to be somewhere right around that same point.
I think he was the 2001 draft, and I don't know when his debut was. Maybe
2007.
2007
was his. Yeah, that was when he made his debut.
Okay, yeah, and that era. I mean, if you guys remember, when Yasiel Puig came up, I think 2012 or 2013, and he started doing all of his kind of, showboating antics. He was one of the first ones to really be doing that. And everybody was kind of shocked by it or taken aback, say, whoa, whoa, like you're a rookie. What are you doing? But
Manny
now,
Ramirez did a lot of it.
well, yeah, but
Well, that was Manny being Manny.
But that was Manny being Manny, and he already had a
Established
very
career.
successful established career. But we're talking about a rookie coming in and do that. So when Joey Votto's in there in 2007, and there were other players on the Reds there that were already established. I don't remember. I know Bruce was there. Who else was there in 2007?
Probably Adam Dunn.
Yeah. Okay. Done.
Griffey might have even still been.
I think.
Really?
I don't know when Griffey left and went and fell asleep in the White Sox dugout.
Oh my God.
That's Joey Votto dressed up as a donkey.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. That's a good teammate right there. But just to go back to Votto and his early demeanor, that was expected. And if he really was doing anything at all to show emotion, I'm sure veterans would have been, in his face, say, "Hey, rookie, come on!" Like, what?
Well, the starters on the 07 team, as listed by Baseball Reference, catching was David Ross. Scott Hatteberg was your first baseman.
Good old Hattie.
Brandon
Scott
Phillips
Hatteberg, a good player.
Brandon Phillips was on second. Alex Gonzalez was playing short. Edwin Encarnacion was at third base.
Oh man,
and then
what could have been?
You had an outfield of Adam Dunn, Josh Hamilton, and Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh my goodness, that's a good squad, man. I mean, I think Josh Hamilton didn't really take off until Texas, right? So I don't know.
Oh no, he was banging here.
He was.
When he came up with the Reds, he was doing well here, and then he really took off.
Gino just hit a homer.
Great, I'm behind.
I'm sorry.
The iPad to the Wi-Fi and streaming. I'm probably still watching the fifth inning.
So something else I want to bring up about a player who's been doing well, and who I've kind of teased a little bit because of his short little T-Rex arms. But what have you seen out of Tony Santillan and his new role in the bullpen?
I love it, man, because when I saw him come up and start, I was extremely impressed with him as a starter. I think we may have talked about it last time on the podcast, but he's the guy that has the bulldog body where he's going to be a horse and eat innings. So that could be in his future, but he's so young. He's 24, right? 24. And he has an extremely live arm. And because he has his, T-Rex arms and he's got his short arms, that actually causes trouble picking up the ball. It jumps up on you so much faster than, what you would expect. And I truthfully thought when I had first heard them sending him back down to get him ready for the bullpen, my first reaction was he is going to be an important piece this year, because I'm sure that I was under the assumption that he was going to gain some velocity going to the bullpen, which it looked like he might have a little bit. And it looked like his slider had even more life last night. And I know that
filthy.
It was filthy. When I saw Chris Bryant take that ugly swing, I was just pumped for him. I was like, oh man, we got a good one.
I believe the pitching ninja immediately gave him a sword.
Yeah. Well, we were tagging the crap out of him as soon as Santillan started striking he led the inning with 2 strikeouts. There were multiple accounts I saw that were just tagging the pitching ninja saying, you need to look at this guy right now. And, I'm excited to see, how he does this year in the pen, but I'm also excited to see his future role with the team, because I do think that his future is as a starter, and I think that he could be a very good one at that.
So one of the things that Sam LeCure brought up in the pregame tonight was that as he is in this relief role, he's being more aggressive with his pitching. And he thinks that that's going to translate as something that maybe he didn't have the mindset beforehand as a starter, being more aggressive early in the counts because you're trying not to get those walks. You're trying not to waste pitches essentially as a reliever because you're out there for such a short amount of time. So that was how LeCure interpreted it. So is that something that you would have thought of, with your sharing that pitching background?
Well, I had, I, I might have had a reliever's mentality when I was starting because I wanted to get the person out on 3 pitches or less, no matter what. If I walk somebody, I was really upset with myself because when I pitched, I had the mindset of if he puts the ball in play, there's a 70% chance at the very least that he's going to get out, and you can't defend a walk. So my outings were whether I won or lost. It was 60, 65 pitches, 70 pitches, 5, 6 innings. And if I lose because I got hit, I can accept that. If I lose because I couldn't find control, I was very, very, very upset with myself. So I was always, always very aggressive as a pitcher. I was always, always throwing strikes, first pitch strikes. I loved first pitch strikes. Doesn't mean it has to be a fastball first pitch strike, but I used to actually have conversations with my college pitching coach, Drew Dickinson. He might be with Virginia now, but he was at University of Illinois. My freshman year, he had to pull me aside, and he actually had a conversation with me saying that I needed to start throwing more balls because because I was just throwing too many strikes. And he says that being away from the plate could be a benefit in a way. So that was my adjustment. I had to try not to throw too many strikes. So aggressiveness was something that I always had, no matter if I was starting or relieving. But there are pitchers who will have more of a slower tempo as a starter versus a reliever. And you definitely saw that with Santillan. His tempo was so much quicker. He was so much more aggressive. He was walking around the mound like he owned it, which was awesome to watch. And it really just made me pumped up because, yeah, he did have success as a starter, but it was that moment yesterday where you kind of felt like he felt that he knew that he belonged and he found his role, at least for this year.
He was going after everyone. Like,
Everybody.
I know that we've been talking a little bit of pitching, but we were talking about Votto and his hitting, and there's another guy who has been absolutely smashing the ball. That's Kyle Farmer.
Mm-hmm.
He's batting .435 over his last 7 games and .319 over his last 30 games. We don't need to go out and get a shortstop. I think I've always been a big Kyle Farmer guy. So, because I had a very weird stat that nobody seemed to know for like the first part of the year when they were like, how can he even play shortstop? But he does still own the best fielding percentage at shortstop at the University of Georgia. So it's like 958, I think, is what it was, which is outrageous.
One of my minor league teammates, Taylor Hicks, was a pitcher at Georgia, and he just recently reached out to me saying that, hey, I played with Farmer, and if you ever get a chance to talk to him, which I haven't, he's like, you got to give him a shout out for me because he's my boy, and he was a stud, and he's awesome, good dude. So I'm a big Farmer fan, and obviously we heard, talks about maybe we should go get a shortstop. I was never in that camp, and for a couple reasons. One, because a shortstop is a defensively premium position, and he's giving us everything we could want there. So if we have I think his defensive metrics right now in the MLB, he's like top 10 or 12 in defensive rating. He's up there. So if we're getting one of the best in the league defensively at short, and we're amongst the best in the National League in almost every offensive category as a team, I don't see why we would need to change our shortstop because we have the offensive punch that we need. Obviously, he's hitting much better as of late, and he is a stud defender. He's very reliable, and I just don't think that that's where we should be putting our resources. Not saying that, just let's say we were to go get some other shortstop like Story or Trey Turner. Not that they wouldn't help the team, but I just think that there could be pieces elsewhere that would be more beneficial. And if we were to go get another shortstop, we already kind of have a logjam, with infielders. So when we get Senzel and Moose back, we're probably going to have to do kind of like position by committee where every couple of days somebody will get an off day, because I'm sure Moustakis will play some at third. Moustakis might play some at first when Votto gets off. When Senzel gets back, he can go in at third. He can also play second. And you also got to remember, India is probably going to be playing every day. So
Right.
if we were to get a shortstop, that would mean that either Farmer or even Gino is going to be on the bench for an extended period of time. And I don't know if that would be putting the team in the best position to win. I think that if we're going to go get a piece, you can always use arms, whether it's a starter or a reliever. If we were to get a piece, every contending team needs pitching. So I think that's where we should go if we do decide to make a trade.
There it is.
They did say, like, I guess they brought up the fact that, I mean, for one, he's playing the best baseball of his major league career right now. And I guess he's also doing it while having some sort of, he's got some ab injury that he's dealing with, but he's like, I'm not taking myself out. I'm not going to take any time off because I've always dreamed of being a starting shortstop in the major leagues, and I am the starting shortstop here, and I'm not giving it up. Like, it's great to hear like somebody that's like, I'm going to go out there. It might end up being at my detriment, but this is me. I'm giving everything to this team.
It's that dog mentality, man.
I love it. The farm dog is the man.
Yeah. and you have to respect it too, because he was with the Dodgers. They wanted him at catcher. They told him he was only going to be a catcher. He made his body type to be a catcher. I believe he was more heavy set over the last couple years. And then once he sniffed that opportunity to play short, he completely changed his body. He got in the best shape of his life. He's completely refining his swing. His defense has been outstanding. It's crazy because you watch him, and if you were to tell a fan who just tunes into the Reds right now and say that guy used to be a catcher only, they would say, "What are you talking about? That guy is a shortstop."
Right.
And it really, it's a feel good story because I don't even know Farmer at all, but I love the guy and I root for him really hard. And if we were to have traded for a shortstop, I would have pulled a Terrell Owens where I'm like, that's my quarterback or something. Because I mean, really, really, like, he needs to be appreciated what he's been doing, for the Reds at that position, especially with the injuries that we've had early.
As you talk about the underappreciated, one of the names that keeps coming up on your Twitter feed is Jonathan India. So these rookies they've been getting small marketed really by baseball, who they can't get out of their own way. They really can't get out of their own way to like just promote the game itself. I mean, you saw it at the All-Star game where, God forbid, you put a banner up for everybody who's at the damn game. And then now with, arguably rookie of the year, 1A and 1B with Jonathan India and with Tyler Stevenson, the hell's going on here?
I think that I just think that since I've gotten here and really immersed myself in the fan base and just Cincinnati baseball as a whole, I heard a lot about the national media doesn't care about us, all this, we don't get the attention that we deserve. And I was under the assumption of, if you go out and you perform, you're going to get that attention because this is the major leagues. But that's really not the case. The fact that, to bring it back to the All-Star game, the fact that Nick, who was, because Acuna was out, he was the outfielder there with the most votes from the fans on the roster. So he was the player that the fans wanted to see the most, and not to have a single banner picture, nothing of him or Winker. I walked all around the city. I was in the team hotel. I walked mile this way, mile that way, just all around the stadium, buses, murals. We had players that weren't even in the All-Star game. We had Yerman Mercedes, who's a rookie who recently retired and then came back. He had his own banner. There was just, it was honestly ridiculous because I went there thinking, oh, where are they gonna, just tuck away Winker and Nick's banner just to, so not a lot of people could see it?
In the
There was
closet.
none. There was none.
They tucked it away in the closet.
Yeah. So, I was just thinking maybe, it would have been nice if the money that the MLB made promoting the slide of Nick into home, where they also got $10,000 of him in a fine, you could have just taken some of that and gave him a picture in the All-Star game or for Winker. And to bring it back to the rookies, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily that big of a deal that they're not getting all the attention. It would be a travesty if they don't win Rookie of the Year, or if somebody wins it ahead of them who's much less deserving. I don't think that'll happen. But I do think that it will be inevitable that the nation will know that these two kids can play. And these two kids are going to be good players for a long time.
I think you're right. I think the best is definitely yet to come with both of those guys, and I think that you see even like almost on a series by series, you just see it just a little bit more of these guys as we just continue through this season, and it's been. I feel like Stevenson's always in a situation where he's going to get an RBI, like a big time RBI in a game, and India, I think he set a record or tied a record for like leadoff hits in a row, I believe. It was something like six
It was six. I think it was the Reds record.
The Reds record.
Yeah.
So I mean, just doing impressive things, man.
Like,
and that's not a rookie record.
Yeah, but what people don't realize though is like in Cincinnati, we had Shin-Soo Choo here, who was a good leadoff hitter, but like leadoff hitter here has been like by committee for as long as I can remember. And having somebody that is solid at the front of the lineup that is likely to get on base.
You remember Corey Patterson?
Right. Exactly. So having him up there, and he's just like, anything that comes to him, he sees the ball so well, and he hustles everything out. Like you don't ever the kid's helmet flies off every time he's running to first base, and it's fantastic to see. Like the effort that gets put out there at that position, which is something that we haven't been blessed with very often here in Cincinnati.
And to reiterate on the fact that he's a rookie, to be able to fill that position with a rookie has got to feel so good for this front office, because they know that it is early in his career. We could have sophomore struggles or anything like that, but it's very bright what we've seen, and it is a very important position at the top of the lineup. Second base is also a very important position in the field, and he plays with the passion and the fire and the grit and the every day I'm just going to come out here and give it everything I got, and I'm going to wear it on my sleeve, and I'm going to make sure my helmet falls off in the meantime. That's awesome. It really is awesome. And obviously with Stevenson doing the same thing, as a Reds fan, you should be really excited watching not only the two rookies hitting, but the two rookies pitching. Alejo Lopez, kind of showing what he can do in his short time up here. And then I've heard nothing but crazy things about Hunter Green and Lodolo and
Barrero.
Barrero.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I think a lot of reason to be happy here as a Cincinnati fan because not only has the major league team been showing that, they're a good team that can compete, for the playoffs, there's a lot of, promising reinforcements in the bag, waiting to come up.
Gotta love it. So, we're what, about 60 games left here in the season at this point?
Ish, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, what did we come in tonight at as far as
51 and 49.
I mean, how many games back?
7, I believe.
So, what do you think the odds are that we just? I mean, that it's the window's starting to get. We're in a nervous place. 7 games back, and seeing the way that
nervous, man.
No.
No, I'm not nervous.
Well, you got to figure that we're Cincinnati, so we've felt the heartbreak year after year after year.
I'm not nervous, man. I think that I think the most important thing is getting, guys like Nick, guys like Antone, guys like Sims, guys like Mustakis. If we could get those guys in and going, we have a favorable schedule towards the end. And I do think the Brewers are a very good team, but I genuinely believe that we're a better team, especially when we have, all of our guys in the field. So it really just takes one good run. I mean, we've seen it, and I still think we have one, maybe 2 more really good runs in us. I think we play, 9 games out of the last 16 or 18 with the Pirates.
Gotta love that.
Something like that. We play Detroit. We play Blanken, but we have a very favorable schedule going down the stretch. And I know it's baseball, so obviously there's going to be a ton of those games that we lose. But I maybe I'm overly optimistic, but I still think that when we get going, I think that we can play some of the best baseball in the National League. And yeah, it might take a bad stretch or 2 from the Brewers, but those kind of stretches are inevitable as well. So as long as, we don't hit one of those stretches where it's just absolutely miserable for a couple weeks, I think we'll be fine. But health is going to be the biggest factor, in my opinion. So getting those guys back to where they're not only in the lineup, but they're playing at a capacity where they feel, close to 100%. That's when I think we go. And I do think it's coming. Hopefully it's not too late in the season, but I really, really, really do think that if it's not the Central, we'll have a shot to compete in the wild card as well. So a couple different avenues, but I'm still optimistic and I'm not nervous yet. I just want the players back on the field.
And I know you brought up some of those names as far as rookies that are down in AAA, and you got to figure that when you have September call-ups and the rosters expand, that's finally going to give a huge break to this bullpen that they've just got to be tired right now. I mean, they're going out there, sometimes 4 or 5 innings a game, and it's been a lot of the same guys all year long. So to get, some of those fresher arms in a Hunter Green or a Lodolo, if they're guys who are called up with the September call-ups, and see potentially what they have against the big leagues. And then also, to your point, to get back, a Sims and to get back Lorenzen, even Antone. Yeah. So, I mean, then this whole bullpen is completely different from, and now that we see that we potentially have a guy in Santillan, there's a lot of hope, at least in a bullpen, that everybody wanted us to make moves, but here's, 4 guys all of a sudden that weren't here in the bullpen 2 weeks ago.
So I don't think that we need to make a trade to compete per se, but I do think that acquiring someone is kind of a message from, ownership saying that, hey, we believe in you. We think that you guys are good enough to compete. And here, this is us showing you that we're going to invest in you and be ready to make this push. I don't know if you guys just saw the report about, I don't know the player's name, but there was a pitcher in the bullpen who just got traded from Seattle to Houston, maybe, or something. But the report is that the clubhouse was extremely upset about it. And that's because that clubhouse probably thought that they had a chance to compete, and ownership was obviously giving them a different message. So even if there isn't a player per se that's needed to basically make them a competitor, sometimes just adding can completely change the vibe in a locker room. And you've seen that with the Brewers. I mean, once Adames or
Yeah.
Willie Adames walked in, they basically just went on a roll. And yeah, of course, Adames had a bunch to do with that, but that was probably just kind of, a message to the team where it's like, okay, let's go, and depending on whatever player is added, if there is one, let's say that we get another one for the bullpen, that's just extra motivation for every player in that bullpen that says, hey, there's someone else here, maybe I need to pick it up, or maybe I need to do, maybe I need to give a little bit more, to help the ownership who thinks that we have a chance to win, to go out and go ahead and do it. And it really is just kind of like that extra motivation for the players and for the locker room. And those little things could make a difference. They really can.
So that was Seattle's closer that they traded to a division rival.
To Houston, right?
Yeah,
That hurts.
I mean, it looks like, I mean, they're 6 games back in their division, but they've won the last 4. Like, I mean, they were starting. I guess that's what it came from. I just briefly scanned an article that the clubhouse kind of thought that they'd started to win and they were making some climb in the standings there, and then they take their closer and send him to a team that is 6 games ahead of them. Like,
Yeah. Well, the report said that the locker room wasn't happy about that, and why would you be?
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
Those players in the locker room, they don't. I don't know what player they got in return. I think they got a major league catcher, right?
They got back a right-handed pitcher, Joe Smith, and an
Great state
infielder,
boy.
Abraham Toro.
Okay.
I think Joe Smith went to Wright State back when I was there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, man. I just think that it really is nice when the locker room and kind of the vision of ownership for the season kind of align in a way. And I do think that this team, the Reds team, I mean, really do think that they're good enough to compete and make a run. And I feel like if they don't make the playoffs, they will all feel like they underperformed. Um, and I really just want to see this team, kind of be able to put it together, get healthy, and really go out and play, a couple months of really good baseball. Um, because I've really just kind of fallen in love with the buzz of the city and how excited everybody is. So I kind of want to see that all come into fruition. And I really do think that the talent is there on the team. So it would be sad if it didn't come into fruition. But like I said, I'm still very optimistic. I'm not even worried yet. I still think there's a lot of baseball to be played, and I still think that the team still has that mindset of competing for each other, having fun, uh, taking it day by day. Not trying to get too high and too low, and they're still in that mode of we have a goal, we're here for a goal, we're here to win, and you can see that with how they're playing, and the fans are loving it, man. I mean, yeah, of course, we wish that the last week or so would have been a little better, but the fans still believe in this team, even when we lose. I You do see negative comments, but the majority of the fans really do have a belief that this team has it in them.
I think this has been one of the most fun teams to watch, most relatable teams to watch in years. And I think that just goes to the cast of characters that they have in place. I can't say enough good things about the team itself. Like you feel the energy.
Absolutely. And I think Jeff was making a comment about how when I was in Cincinnati last was for that Cubs home series, that was one of the most electric weekends that you've experienced there in a long time.
Oh, it was like I said, I mean, like outside of like the All-Star game, which was just like, people from everywhere that were just like screaming and cheering, and then like Todd Frazier won the home run derby that year, and it was nuts.
Yeah.
And then like in 2012 when they were in the playoffs, and they had a 3-0 lead or 2-0 lead coming back from San Francisco, and they came back, and then it went downhill pretty quick here. But being here for those was through the roof. I mean, it was crazy, and to have that experience, and like we have that experience every year on opening day, minus like the last 2 years because it was snowing this year and
COVID.
goofy.
The only 2 years that I've had a chance to maybe experience opening day.
I'm telling you, like opening day here is like
surreal.
None other. Like I had a buddy who he was born in New York, like Yankees fan, like just ridiculous, and he's like telling me how great opening day is there, and they're like, oh, I brought him to opening day here, and he's like, I don't have anything to come back at you with. Like this was a ton of fun. Like you make a whole day out of it. There's a parade, and then and now with where the ballpark is, they have like those streets all get blocked off. Like I guess now the Dora that's down there where everybody can drink anyway, but like they block all that. There's pictures of that. I mean, it's just like shoulder to shoulder with people just having a good time until opening day, and then you get in there, and I mean it's fantastic. There you go, right there.
It looks like a championship parade, doesn't it?
Oh,
That's just opening day. So imagine what a championship would be.
That would be so cool, man. That would be
his Holy Grail's right there in the bottom right.
Yeah.
So the ballpark, that picture's from like
the banks,
from up above the ballpark, looking down into the Holy Grail's right there on the right.
I know about the banks, you guys. That's a great place.
How much of the banks do you remember, though?
Oh, come on, man. It's fun. The fans there are great, especially after the game. Obviously it's like a huge for anybody who hasn't been there. It's like a one strip of a street, and on either side there's restaurants, bars, and after the game there's just fans of both teams. We had Cubs fans and Reds fans just all there, having a good time, talking, being friendly. It's really, really, really good vibe. I mean, it's just to bring up Wrigleyville, they have a very similar thing there. And when I first experienced Wrigleyville, I was like, oh, there's no place like this. And of course, the banks in Wrigleyville are different, but kind of what they offer in the experience is very, very similar. And honestly, I had such a good time in Cincinnati. The ballpark is beautiful. The fans are great. The area is awesome. And just excited to go back, really. But to go back to the opening day, I had just found this out today on Twitter. When did they stop giving you MLB? I mean, when did MLB stop giving you guys rights to the first game, and why?
They started doing overseas, like over in Japan.
Like the first year the Reds didn't have it. I mean, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
5:00 start or something like that day.
Yeah, they started doing weird. I mean, it was when when we were like kids, like that they stopped doing. I remember like there was one where like the Reds played in. I think the only time the Reds have not opened, at least at home, they opened. I want to say it was like '88. They opened at the Astrodome, in Houston. But it's been quite some time, and it's a point of contention here in Cincinnati that they don't allow us to open the season.
Today.
Yeah, it's
That's a
ridiculous.
little upsetting. It really is. I mean, because that's probably why opening day became such a spectacle in Cincinnati, and to take that out, it's kind of sad because I've heard nothing but great things about the opening day here, and I was at opening day this year, but it was snowing and it was not full capacity, and it's not the same.
Dude, to give you an idea, like they've literally talked about making it a holiday here in the city where they shut down businesses.
How can businesses even operate when you can't walk down the street?
It's bananas.
There are a lot of kids that aren't in school that day. There are a lot of people who are sick from work. Right, exactly. I went to, like, from the time I was born until I was 20, I went to every opening day. I didn't miss one until I was away at college and I couldn't get back.
Here's the coolest thing about opening day. Back in the day when Marge Schott was the owner, we used to have elephants on the baseball field before the game started. They actually delayed the start of the game because an elephant shit on the field.
Opening day is wild here.
Can you imagine telling a center fielder, hey, you got to go out there and stand in that elephant shit out there in center field.
Or the grounds crew that they have to go clean that up.
On AstroTurf. It wasn't even real grass. It's not like they could dig it up or anything. It's AstroTurf, so that's going to stink all day.
Okay, I think that this should be without saying, but why was there an elephant on the field?
Well, the old owner, Marge Schott, donated first she bought an elephant, I think, and then she gave it to the Cincinnati Zoo. Obviously, she couldn't keep it at her house in Indian Hill. I don't know if that's the truth or not. But anyway, she sponsored the elephant house or the elephant exhibit at the Cincinnati Zoo. And so she just basically told the zoo they have to bring the elephants to the field and let them shit on the field.
I mean, if you have a chance to bring an elephant to the field for opening day, I think you do it, right?
She said, honey, I need y'all to bring those elephants from that zoo down here to the ballpark.
I don't know if that's how she talked.
As she's hitting lung darts.
She was. She had a seat like down by the. I mean, she was down by the field, like right behind the dugout. Like she was always there. And
with her dog.
She has a very checkered past with comments that she has made that are very inappropriate. That will get you comments that'll get you fired from being an announcer nowadays.
She would have been fired from being an owner nowadays.
Like that's true too.
For sure.
Yeah, she was a wild.
She would not
lady.
have survived cancel culture at all.
They used to do a thing where they would bring the kids down onto the field and like you could run, like you could start at home plate and run all the way out in the outfield and all the way around. And my brother, he's like a year and a half younger than me and is much larger than I am. Like he was a lineman in football. I mean, he's just a big guy. And so we're running.
Oh, a lineman.
And, yeah, he was a big guy. He is a big guy. We're in the outfield running, and Marge Schott is running with Shotzi, who was her giant Saint Bernard dog that she had.
She wasn't running.
She was yogging, and my brother ran right into the back of her, knocked her over. She like fell over Shotzi onto the ground. I'm like, we're never allowed to come back to Reds games ever again. Like she is gonna have us booted out of this stadium. We're like 11, like 10, 11.
That's why you stopped going to opening day. It wasn't college. It was because
no. We did not get banned. My grandma was part of the Rosie Reds. Like we were all right. Okay. We were allowed to be in there all the time. Like we always had tickets. So.
All right, so a question for you guys. Skyline Chili is going to be hooking me up with my first ever meal there because I've never had it. They're sending me a gift card, and they really want me to try it. So what do I get?
You got to go 2 conies with onions and mustard, and I would say any choice of the ways. So, like, you could go 3-way, 4-way, or 5-way. I would say 3-way just because that's the iconic one. But
3-way is the iconic.
The 3-way is the iconic with the coney with onions and mustard. But if you want to do the 5-way and add onions and beans to it, you can't go wrong.
Okay, because the Mets broadcast when they were trashing it, that was, you guys saw that, by the way, when the Mets.
Yeah,
It
broadcast
was
was trashing it.
ridiculous.
Yeah, and then I kind of stuck up for Skyline Chili, and then they had reached out to me, which is how this whole thing started, which is hilarious and awesome, by the way, because I get to try free chili.
Free always tastes a little bit better anyway.
Yeah, but I was saying that I want to try it exactly the way that it looked in the Mets broadcast
Okay.
when they were trashing it. And
Five-way.
I guess that's 5-way. But
Yeah.
when I had said that, people were responding to me left and right, like, you need to work up to that.
No, I mean, it's literally just adding beans and onions.
And onions.
Like,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can jump right in there, and if you're all about that, you can get one coney. You could get one coney with onions and mustard, and then because the coney is your dog in a bun with the chili on it and cheese, right? And then they put onions and mustard in there.
Okay.
But then you could get also one with habanero cheese.
Wow.
Because that's what I do now is the habanero cheese is fantastic.
It's not that
Ed,
great.
what do you think, Ed? Come on.
it's pretty hot.
Oh, I think and I respect the 4-way and the 5-way, but I think the classic is a 3-way with Coney and a Mountain Dew.
Yes.
And a Mountain Dew.
Yeah. If you don't,
Oh, here's nothing like a Skyline Mountain Dew.
And
Mountain Dew does hit different at Skyline.
Real
this
different.
is true.
I
don't want to take this elephant picture down.
I don't know why this popped in, but I only drink Mountain Dew once, and it's whenever I go to Taco Bell. I have.
This
to
is
have
it the
Mountain
Baja
Dew at
Blast?
Taco Bell.
I don't
Is
drink
it the
Baja
Baja
Blast.
Blast?
Just the OG.
All right.
The OG.
So your sister got that surprise drop off of Taco Bell while you were streaming, right? So that was so weird in and of itself. But it totally reminded me of the fact that the menu down in Florida, they don't have chili cheese burritos down in Florida.
They don't have that?
At Taco Bell, they do not serve them. And I've asked why, and they said because it's too hot.
I get the same thing
Fair.
every time, so I don't really know the differences in the menus. This is a lot of food, so don't judge me. But I always get 2 soft taco supremes and 2 cheesy gordita crunches, and I crush them. They're so good. The cheesy gordita crunches are the ones that have like the soft shell on the outside, the hard shell on the inside.
Yep.
And then you got to add the fire sauce.
No, you got to go Diablo sauce.
That must not be a Florida thing because it's too hot.
Oh man,
Never heard of Diablo sauce.
yeah, they got Diablo sauce now. It was like a limited time thing, and then they brought it back. And so, like when I go, I always tell them like, I need like a handful of it because I have it in my refrigerator, like stacked up in there. I love Taco Bell. I'm like a human dumpster, I guess. I don't know.
Skyline chili. So Skyline chili, Grater's ice cream.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that fucks.
Yeah, because I heard Dave Portnoy say the same thing. So if he said it, it has to be true.
Yeah.
What else between those two? Because I need to make sure I hit them.
Like are you just talking like Cincinnati staples?
Yeah, I guess you can always hit a Montgomery Inn.
You hit Montgomery Inn
ribs,
is
right?
The rib
Yep.
joint. Yeah.
Okay.
And
La Rosa's.
but don't expect like like some kind of crazy like barbecue place. It's just the ribs are good. I mean, it is good. It's just not.
I love ribs, so I'm
The
down with that.
decor inside is
And
freaking awesome.
the
If you go to the boathouse, remember when Mike Tyson got his ear bit off?
Yeah.
The piece of that ear is on display at the boathouse.
They got rid of Shaq's shoe. It's not there anymore.
Yeah, they have like all kinds of sports memorabilia. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there's 2 locations. There's the boathouse downtown.
It's
and
right on the
then-
river.
And then they have like their original location.
Okay, I definitely need to go to that just because you said the Mike Tyson ear.
So
have to
Montgomery
see
Inn, La Rosa's Pizza is kind of what it is, but like
That's what I heard in my stream too. They said it's good. You can try it. You'll probably like it, but it's not absolutely like crazy or anything.
You gotta grow up on it.
yeah,
Dave
I'll definitely like it more than New York pizza and post about it.
Dave Portnoy is not going to give us like anything above a 7 for La Rosa's Pizza. I don't think.
Really? Did he do it?
I don't think he's ever been
Yeah,
here.
he would not remotely come close to giving La Rosa's Pizza a 7.
No.
Really?
I mean, just because it's like it's this hybrid. It's like a hybrid fast food kind of pizza almost like.
And it's hand tossed. Like he's not a fan of hand tossed anyway.
And it's like the all the different the dough is like frozen, except for unless you get the pan pizza, the dough comes frozen. I worked there. Like,
it looks like maybe he has some roses.
My wife grew up in Cincinnati and hates it because she doesn't like the sauce.
Okay.
Like,
It's sweet.
it's very sweet.
We've been talking about food for like 8 minutes.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I love food.
Chad's in the chat. He'd tell you to go to El Torta Loco. Is that what it is?
Torta Loca?
Torta Loca?
That's down in Florence, though. That's a hike, man.
I'll hit it
Yeah,
up.
that is a hike.
I still need to hit that place up.
Me too.
Well, I mean, Ruby's for
Brindle's Bites.
Ruby's. Yeah, Ruby's is a staple if you haven't been to that steakhouse.
precinct.
Okay.
Yeah, have you been to Ruby's yet?
No, man.
I didn't know if you did that like when you were here like the last time, just because it's a.
He won't get me in, but if you tweet him, he'll get you in.
Yeah,
I tweeted him trying to get a spot for my anniversary last weekend, and he just said thanks for the love, and then didn't give me a spot. Sorry,
it seems like you maybe should have planned an anniversary dinner a little further in advance than a week, Ed.
No, this was like a month, wasn't it, Aaron? Like a month?
Don't ask me. I don't know when your anniversary date is. Just because I was in the wedding doesn't mean I remember when it was.
Ed
was
forgot
Saturday.
about his anniversary. Ed forgot about his anniversary and almost went to a live podcast out at a brewery instead. So
would have been a nice evening.
This is Ed. Ed almost forgot about it.
yeah, Ed was planning to go to this live podcast, and then he like the day of, he's like, "Oh, I forgot it's my anniversary. I'm not gonna be able to make that."
We would have had a nice, peaceful evening. It would have been the greatest anniversary gift ever.
Yeah, whenever my anniversaries come, I mean, my girlfriend, I'm not married, but whenever our couple anniversary comes up, we've been together for a while now, about 7 years, and or just under 7 years. But she's always, as soon as we get within like 3-4 weeks away, she'll be like, "Oh, our anniversary's coming up. What are we doing? Anniversary's coming up. What are we doing? Are we doing anything special? What are we doing?" So I get the heads up way before, so I have plenty of time to prepare, which is even more stressful because then I feel like I need to over deliver.
Yes. Because it's like, oh, you're planning everything. Oh, this is going to be great. And like, damn it, now there's expectations. So I made the reservations at the wrong restaurant. I realized it when we got there. I thought I made reservations at a steakhouse in OTR. Apparently, I made reservations at a wine bar with small plates in OTR. They still had steak that they put on the pasta, but yeah, I mean, it was great. Went to 50 West, had a beer, and then went home.
One of a kind, Ed. You are one of a kind. So we talked food, we talked Reds. Gutierrez had him.
Can we talk about how I'm somewhat of a Skyline expert?
I mean, you had 9 in a puke.
9.5 in a puke.
I think you keep adding to that number.
I think so.
Do you know this story, Ryan?
I all I got was what you guys just said. He ate 9 hot dogs and threw up.
So Ed,
go
ahead, Ed.
Last summer during the pandemic, I was at home doing nothing, and I got this great idea of tweeting Sean Casey and saying, "How many cheese conies do I have to eat to get you to come on the podcast, do an interview?" Finally, one night I tweeted him maybe every week. Finally, one night he sent me a message, said 12 cheese conies, and I said, "At one time?" And he said, "Yo, it's a big interview. Yeah, you 12 at one time. I think you can do it." So we bought 12 cheese conies. Good story. We had the listeners donate some money. We bought 12 cheese conies and then tipped the drive-through lady $100 because restaurants were closed, so a little extra money for the pandemic. And then Aaron's frozen.
Yep.
And then we recorded it on Zoom. Zoom, yeah, something like that. Anyways, I got 9.5 down, and then I puked into a bucket, and it was not good. And then Aaron and Jeff made me think that I let Sean down, that Sean would not come on the show. He wouldn't do any of that. So I guess Sean was following along on Twitter when we were doing it because I was writing it on Twitter. And he sent me a message that following Friday night. He's like, "Did you do it?" He said, "You got the number 8, and it got as quiet as a mouse in church." And I was like, "No, I didn't get it." But I sent him the video, and he agreed to come on anyways. So I took one from the team.
Ed, so while we're recording though, Ed didn't realize that when you're trying to eat for volume, you can't eat slow. He paced himself far too slow. I'm pretty sure he used a fork and a knife to cut his cheese conies. I don't know.
Aren't you supposed to dunk it in water and just shove it all down your throat?
Probably should have, but all I had
like Joey Chestnut.
Yeah.
And no, Ed was over there like one bite, and then he would like just stare at the screen, and there was like another bite. And Aaron and I both told him at the beginning, like, you have got to pick up the pace, or this is not going to happen. And
Yeah.
I mean, he did his best. He really did. It's a humorous clip. It's around somewhere. I don't know. Ed might tweet it at you later.
So if you guys want to do towards the end of the season, if you guys want to each get like 4, 5, 6 conies and all of us eat it here and see who can handle it, I'm down to do that. I've never done eating competition.
Oh man,
I'm down.
I'm losing weight so I can fit in the Liam t-shirt.
I remember that. Yeah.
Ed, are you really going to be able to eat 6 though and not puke at this point, or it's going to trigger you PTSD so bad?
Ed, can I see you in the Liam shirt just to see how much progress you got to make?
Go get it, Ed.
Go
get it, Ed.
I can't make it all the way up. I'll put it on later and I'll tweet a picture.
Beautiful.
The internet lives forever.
I bought one for myself, and then one we'll give away in the 100th episode.
That's awesome. And for those of you guys who don't know, the proceeds, or some of the proceeds, go to charity. So if
you pick the Dragonfly?
Yeah, the Dragonfly charity or something. I don't want to say because I'm not exactly sure, but it's the Dragonfly something, and they're doing work with children who are dealing with cancer and whatnot. Liam did all the research himself, and Liam picked the charity himself. But here's actually a crazy fact that we found out after the fact, that charity that we had picked, that we found out was actually a charity that got a bunch of traction years ago
with Marty.
When Marty Brenneman shaved his head.
Yeah. And that was just so funny just to hear, because it's like, what are the odds?
Pediatric brain cancer. I think it's the Dragonfly Foundation.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Yep.
And this is Liam's thing. He's the one that read it, did all the, he got a list of different ones that he could look at. He was reading through all of them. I'm sure the fact that Dragonfly, the name, coincided with the time that him and Nick were watching Dragon Ball Z. So I'm sure that might have had something to do with it. Yeah. Liam loves it now. Liam calls he's Gohan and Nick's Goku. Yeah. So they're oh man, that's awesome. That is awesome. But it was just funny because when I had heard that, I was like, oh man, what are the odds?
Yeah. I don't think Marty ever grew his hair back out.
Yeah.
So before we get you out of here, Ryan, your Twitter stuff, or I'm sorry, your Twitch stuff, if you want to tell people where they can find you on a regular basis as you're watching the games, and then everyone can laugh along with you because you're super interactive. I don't know how you keep track of everybody, and I know I razz you a little bit, like, hey dude, remember me? It's the same handle on everything.
Yeah, well, I got you now. I had so much stuff going on.
I get it.
Yeah, because when I had first gotten on with you guys, that was right around the time where I decided I was going to do the Twitch stream. So I was in the middle of setting up this makeshift studio. The only thing I care about in the studio right now is making sure that the camera and the light works and people can see my dog photos. That's all I really care about now. When I move back to Fort Lauderdale, which will be coming up in a couple of weeks, I'll be doing more of like a permanent home studio spot. And still, I'm just having a ton of fun doing it. So that's really mainly why I'm doing it right now, because you guys have been in there. I mean, it's awesome. I've built like a little community there where the same
Yeah.
people are coming every time, and everybody knows each other. We even have some Cub fans in there. So I'm really excited to do this next stream tomorrow, which is going to be against the Cubs. I'm sure we'll get a bunch of Cubs fans in there because a lot of Cubs fans do follow me. So it's probably going to be an interesting stream. So I'm really looking forward to that one. If you guys do want to check it out, if you do follow me on Twitter, it'll be in my bio. But the link is twitch.tv/parkballers with a Z. That name came about because of my momentary dyslexia, where I misspelled the acronym of Great American Ballpark. And that went on for a little while, and nobody wanted to correct me because they were afraid to correct me because I'm Nick's brother, I guess. So after I realized it, I started saying Great American Ballpark correctly, and everybody's like, no, it's GAPB, GAPB. So then I had to come up with a name that made that acronym make sense, and it was the Great American Park Ballers. And then I just took Park Ballers and I just made that my stream. So now anybody who comes in on the stream and joins in on the community, you're officially a Park Baller. So if you guys want to come watch the game, obviously I can't show the game feed or the game audio for copyright reasons, but we're all watching the game together. We're all chatting together. We're all going nuts together. People are, predicting different things. And anytime somebody has a good prediction, I'm calling them out in the chat, and people are interacting with each other in the chat, and they're kind of all becoming, it's like a new way to watch the game where everybody can kind of have fun, and everybody in there, it really is positive. Like even when things are going bad in the game, we'll start talking about Pokemon or like Club Penguin or like food or just really anything. I don't know if you guys if Club Penguin even registered with you guys, but I
Nope.
was surprised with how much and people in the chat loved Club Penguin, which is like this free to play little game where you get your penguin and you run around, and it's like a little interactive world. It's literally for kids, but I may have played it a little bit when I was like in 7th grade. But
You had me at RuneScape though. You did have me at
dude,
RuneScape.
yeah, RuneScape was a huge topic of conversation. I even have people telling me that I need to stream RuneScape, and I'm like, oh man, I don't even remember that. I don't even remember playing it, but it really is a lot of fun. It really is. The last stream, there's like a joke around the stream where the first stream that I did, I had some Coronas on the stream and we won. And then when I stopped drinking the Coronas, we had lost. So every time we're losing, they're telling me to drink Coronas, and I'm like, you guys, like, I can't just drink Coronas on stream all the time. Like, I'm not really, I know my Twitter profile picture has a beer in it, but I really don't drink all that much. Like if I go out to the game and all that, of course I would like to go and drink and have a little bit of fun. But the last stream we were down by a bunch of runs, and the whole chat was trying to get me to get Coronas, and I'm like, you guys, I don't have any in my house. There's nothing I can do. So I called my mom on the stream. I put the phone up here, and I was waiting for her to answer. She didn't answer, so I left her a voicemail on stream. And I'm like, Mom, I need a Corona. Could you please bring me a Corona? And then hung up. 45 minutes later, I had no idea. She walks in through that door wearing a Nick Castellanos jersey with a 6-pack of Corona, and she's just like, woo! And I'm like, no way, dude. And I look back.
It was
the
epic.
the chat is going nuts. They're like, oh, Michelle, yeah, your mom's awesome. And then this one guy was like, oh, wow, your mom's pretty hot. And I'm like, Chris, you're in timeout for like 5 minutes.
He got the horny bonk.
Yeah, the horny bonk, but still, it's all in good fun, and I really do have 10, 15, 20 people reaching out to me every single week saying that I love your stream. The fact that you're doing this, it really is the most fun I've ever had. Being a Reds fan, this is the coolest way to watch a game. This is the most fun I've had watching a game, and I have people messaging me before every single game. Hey, are you streaming? Hey, are you streaming today? Hey, when is the next stream? And it's really just awesome because I'm like, I just want to get on for you guys and have fun with you guys. And every time I go live, the same 30 people just get on immediately, and they're just like, "Hey, I'm back. Hey, I'm back," and I'm just, this is great. So I don't really know where it's going to go from here. Obviously, the season is only so long. I'm probably going to continue to be doing things on Twitch afterward, whether it's more sports stuff. I'm going to keep it sports. I'm going to have a lot of sports related things on there because I love sports, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, whether I do stuff with Nick in the future. Probably will venture into some of the gaming aspect just because of, how coincided that is with Twitch. And I love playing video games myself, a whole bunch of different ones. So I'm just excited. It really is, just to be able to have Twitch all set up, have a stream that I love doing and a lot of other people really enjoy.
So is Liam going to draw your logo?
That is a good idea.
Because it needs to happen. Like, for one, you need a logo, and you've already got an artist in the family. You might have to pay a high premium now, though. I don't know.
Jeff. Jeff. He will make me a logo for free, okay? He better, okay? 'Cause I'm his uncle, and I'm the fun uncle.
Yeah, but you're not going to take away from charity, are you, Ryan?
Are we still live?
Yeah.
Kidding.
Your mom might be watching, so you got to be wary about what words you want to use here.
I'm just kidding. That would actually, I never thought about that, and I probably will bring it up to him and see if he wants to do it. I was planning on having him just come. There's rules with Twitch about young people being on stream. It's allowed, but they need to be. I need to be in the shot with him at all times. He can't be alone on the stream. Mm-hmm. So I do want to be streaming, and when Nick comes up, just go grab Liam, sit him on the lap, and just have him watching at bat. A lot of people have asked about that, so really, I'm just doing it to try to make as cool of an experience for the fans. I'm spending most of the time there interacting with them. I know a lot of the highlights people see on Twitter are just me going absolutely crazy, which is a frequent thing that happens depending on what's going on in the game. But most of the time, we're all just in there hanging out, laughing, saying, funny things, random things, sometimes things not even related to baseball. And it's just a different feel from, Twitter as a whole, because Twitter as a whole can be very negative, can be very,
it's a cesspool. It's a cesspool.
Yeah. And the chat in the stream will make comments about how much better they feel being in here rather than interacting with people on solely Twitter who tend to be negative and, like the world is falling and everybody sucks. And it's just fun. And I was telling you guys when I was starting it, I was thinking that it would be something that people would like. But now I know that there's a lot of people who love it. And I just look forward to every stream now.
It's a lot of fun.
Again, if you want to just shout out how they can find you, what your username on Twitter and on Twitch are, so they can find you there.
So my Twitter is Ryan Castellanos. It's at Ryan_cast_, because I was late to the Twitter party, I guess. And my Twitch handle is Parkballers, Z instead of an S at the end because the S was taken. And it's twitch.tv/Parkballers. And you can find that either through Twitch, or if you guys follow me on Twitter, then it's right there in my bio. And I also post about an hour and a half to 2 hours before the game that I'll be streaming. And then I'll post like 5 or 6 minutes before we go live. And then I'll also throw a couple posts like 6th and the 7th inning if anybody wants to come catch the ending.
And if you need the visual, you can watch our YouTube video. And his username is right there scrolling at the bottom of your screen. So Unless you guys got anything else, we're gonna catch the end of this game. I believe it's still 5-2. We got Hoffman on the mound in the 8th inning here, 2 outs. Feeling pretty good about this one. But that was another episode of Pardon the Punctuation. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. We look forward to a little bit more before the season ends here with you. But for Ed, for Jeff, I am Aaron, and we're out.
Ba-dum-bum.
Thank you guys.